going to first do the stuff on the bench, then come back and take this out. We're now going to do the adapter and the temperature sender for the transfer case. Again, I'm going to use a small amount of thread locker. So we're just going to cinch this down exactly the same as we did with the water level sensor. We don't want to go too hard. This is just a brass fitting, just enough, that's plenty enough tension, and now our sender and adapter is ready to be installed in the vehicle. I won't be using thread locker in the vehicle because I've got a crush washer that is going to compress and add a seal on the transfer case. This is now a transfer case, and at the top of the transfer, or on the side of the transfer case, sort of just around the exhaust sort of level here, there's an unused bolt on the side of the transfer case. We're going to take a 22mm spanner, if we can get it in there, and past the exhaust. We're going to loosen that. Just take it easy when you get to the top. We keep that plug, give it back, or just keep it as a spare in your ashtray or something, just in case something goes wrong and with the probe, or you need a spare. And we're going to install the probe that we already inserted in the fitting. I think what is important to note here is you don't turn the probe. You must tighten it on the fitting, on the hydraulic adapter fitting only. And also you don't want this pigtail to get tangled. Tighten the last bit with the spanner. I don't want to break the adapter, and I don't want to make an oil leak. That should be fine. So what's obviously happening now is when the transfer case is running, there is a stirring of the transfer case oil underneath there, and it's going to be touching the sensor, and that's going to give you a temperature reading. So we'll come back just now and do the wiring to this. We're going to do two things now on near the water. We're going to get down there and do the oil pressure gauge, and we're going to put the adapters, or the oil pressure sender, and we're going to put the adapters in, and then we're going to tap off of the boost signal line here. I'm just going to remove the air intake pipe, boost hose off, if it will come off. There we go. Be careful not to get things into the turbine of the turbo. Obviously you don't want to hurt the turbo. The location of these window washer bottles is not factory, so it's actually blocking the normal route to get down to the oil pressure switch where I need to unscrew it. So I'm going to have to remove these and get them out the way. I'm just removing the wire clip at the back of the plug because I need to take the sender out. So when you're putting this plug back on with the wire clip, you don't leave the wire clip off, you put it on, because the fitting is wedge shaped. All you're going to do is going to press that on, and it'll go click and click into place. Oil is going to leak out. If you're sensitive about your paving or your floor, put something underneath the car. I'll try and catch the worst of it with a cloth here. Okay, this one had nothing. And now we come with our adapters. So essentially what we're going to do is, where this oil pressure sender went into the block, we're going to replace it with this. It's going to go in the end of the fitting, and our new fitting is going to be teed into the side of the fitting. You don't want this to be orientated in such a way that you can't actually get the plug in. If it's cross-threaded at all, it won't go nicely. There you'll see it'll turn easily if you've got the threads correct. So we'll turn it all the way till it gets home, and then we'll move this so that it orientates. Ideally I want my sensor to actually be facing up like this, my aftermarket sensor. I'm actually going to reverse this out, and I'm going to put a slightly thicker crush washer in, because I'm not happy with the location of it. So back with a bit of, hit it with a bit of blue thread locker, and in again. What was the problem here is the crush washer from the factory switch was still stuck on the block. So now it's going to orientate nicely. See, I want that hole to be basically facing slightly vertical. So there's the adapter in. We're now going to fit our sensor. Oh, this is the 2-bar sensor. Also good that I check it. This 2-bar sensor is the boost pressure sensor. It's not the oil pressure. The oil pressure is MPS7. Here we are, MPS7, 7-bar sender, and these are 3-wire senders. So this requires a voltage, 12-volt input signal, as well as earth connection, and then the output signal, which is a maximum of 5 volts. One of the advantages of this one is the size of the aperture. The signal aperture here is much larger, especially in a diesel vehicle where you have a buildup of sludge. The sludge ends up inside of the sensor and gives incorrect readings. This is 1/8 NPT fine thread on this sender. It must turn in by hand. If it's turning in and it's very stiff, you have made a mistake. It helps if you have short sockets, so that is a big spanner to get in a small space. I do have a shorter 24. I'll go and get it now. Okay, so we're going to tighten the sender down. You don't want to tighten it ridiculously tight. Again, it's a brass housing, and you can actually twist the thread off of the sender itself. You want that tab to be in its accessible direction, that you don't struggle to remove the thing if you need to at some place, or to just for the installation. This is 1/8 NPT, and it is a tapered thread. So there we go. So you can see I've put the little tab facing a little bit outwards. Now we're going to put the factory oil pressure sender back in, although this was not really doing much in this car. I don't know if it was because the sender was not working at some point and they just disabled it, or what the case might be. Either way, we will return it to its factory thing. So the nice thing about this kit is that you're not cutting any wires in the factory harness or loom. Everything is being done, everything that you're doing interfaces with the factory with no problem whatsoever, and you don't lose any of your, and it doesn't interrupt or interfere. Even with modern cars, it doesn't have any effect on your CAN bus system. It's a complete standalone, highly effective warning and monitoring system.
Hi, it's Brian from Madman Developments here. Our products are made in South Africa and available to everyone around the world. We have an online shop and warehouse in South Africa selling to the world, and a dedicated shop and warehouse in the USA for the Americas. Go to madmandevelopments.com for all the information you need, including shops and contact details for sales and technical assistance.